Good afternoon. I'd like to call the meeting to order. I'd like to welcome everyone to the February 9th, 2023 meeting of the City County Planning Board. Would you please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Today's meeting is being broadcast live on TV 13 and will be rebroadcast at 10 a.m. Friday morning and again at 4 p.m. Sunday afternoon. Our first order of business today will be the consent agenda. These are items for which the petitioner is requesting withdrawal or continuance, or items for which staff has recommended approval and no one has signed up to speak in opposition. For all public hearings, each side will have a total of 12 minutes. There will be no rebuttal period. Once the public hearing is closed and the board goes into work session, no one is permitted to speak unless a planning board member asks them a question. For general use district zoning requests, the planning board must consider the full range of uses allowed in the zoning district being requested. The petitioner may not refer to a specific use for the property. For special use district zoning requests, however, the petitioner must identify the intended use or uses of the site and give specific details on how the site will be developed. Items under Section B of the agenda will require final approval by the appropriate elected body, either the City Council or County Commissioners. As such, votes taken by the Planning Board concerning these items are recommendations that will be considered by the elected bodies during their review of the requests. Before addressing the Planning Board, we will need your name, address, and zip code for the record. Our first item of business is the approval of the minutes of the January 12th and January 26th meetings. Are there any additions or corrections? Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Motion by Mr. Lamb, second by Mr. Grubbs. Any discussion? All those in favor, sign of aye. Aye. Opposed, the same sign. That is unanimous. Now going to call on, I think, Mr. Mark Allred. Is it Allred or Allred?
Allred.
Allred.
You got it.
Mr. Mark Allred to review the consent agenda.
All right. Good evening, Mr. Chair. First thing on the consent agenda is item B2. This case has been automatically withdrawn per the applicant's request. So this is items B1, B4, and D1. They requested a continuance 8 days prior to this meeting, more than 8 days, so they also get an automatic continuance to March 9th. Our first item to discuss is item B3, W3563. The applicant is Janet Hunter Frank, David Heel Hunter, Carol Alspa Denton, Ann Alspa Davis, estate of Eben Wharton Alspa, and Jan B. Whittingham. This is a general use rezoning of RS9 and RM12 to RM18 on 6.83 acres, the south side of Old Vineyard Road between Delwood Drive and Glendale Drive. So to the north here, you see the predominantly office rezonings along the Country Club Road Growth Corridor. And to the east, south, and to the west, you see multifamily apartments. There's also multiple transit stops, with the closest one being at Kilpatrick. There you go, Kilpatrick and Old Vineyard Road right here. The aerial is showing 4 single-family homes on these lots. And again, the aerial shows the density that you see, the growth that's happening on Country Club with the offices and the apartments that have come around it to the south, east, and the west. The area plan recommends intermediate density residential for this site, which RM18 is a part of. Staff believes this request fits in with the surrounding community and recommends approval.
Are there any questions for staff? Okay. No one has signed up in opposition. Is anyone here opposed to this request? Seeing no one, I declare the public hearing closed. What is the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I move the planning board find that the request is consistent with the comprehensive plan.
I have a motion by Mr. Lamb, second by Mr. Grubbs. Any discussion? All those in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. That is unanimous.
Mr. Chairman, I further move that the planning board recommend approval of W3563.
Motion by Mr. Lamb, second by Mr. Grubbs. Any discussion? All those in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. That is unanimous.
The next item is C1, case F1627. The applicant is David and Betty Lawson. They are applying for a special use permit for an LCID greater than 2 acres and borrow sites in the RS40 zoning, which is on a 73.45 acres property on the east side of Piney Grove Road across from Lawson Acres Drive. And you can see to the north is on agricultural, to the east is Blues Creek with a residential subdivision across the creek. To the south are existing LCIDs, and to the west is Piney Grove Road and RS40 zoning. The site plan. So the proposed LCID, the white background, it's sometimes hard to see it, but the proposed LCID is in the middle of the site. It's shown in 5 phases. The proposed borrow site will not have more than 1 acre disturbed at any given time, which is also shown in 5 phases, with the first phase being on the south side that you see here. The next 4 phases are on the western side of the property. The applicant on the west, right at the entrance, is also showing a stockpile area and gravel parking. The entire area is connected with a 20-foot gravel access road that connects Piney Grove Road with the LCID and the borrow sites. The site has a 20-foot Type 3 buffer on Piney Grove Road and along all the neighboring residential properties. This is the most restrictive buffer that we have in the UDO. The LCID is more than 100 feet from any neighboring residential properties, and the site plan does meet UDO requirements.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval.
Before we need to have Mr. Grubbs to recuse himself, is there any objection to this?
Nope.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval.
I have a motion by Mr. Lamb. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Pernino. Any discussion on this one?
Yeah.
So what's the difference that's happening here than's currently happening on what the sign says, the landfill?
Okay, so the sign that says,
There's
sorry.
a current use of that property that says something about landfill or
Are we
something
talking about the
like-
properties to the south?
That may be to the
Okay,
south.
okay,
It was
okay.
difficult to tell from the map which was which
Yeah.
property.
So these
Yeah.
properties down here are also an LCID.
Uh-huh.
They're starting to fill up, so he's going to be closing them off. And then once he closes them off, he'll be opening up, well, probably should have the applicant talk for this, but he'll be using the LCID that you see on the site plan. So one is filling up.
Expansion?
It's not expansion of a use, I guess would be,
So similar noise, similar traffic, things like that?
yes.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know, yeah.
I just have one small little question. On the far right-hand end of the gravel drive, it doesn't look like that last corner connects because it's not colored
Right.
in such a way. Is that of any significance?
The fire department didn't have an issue with it, so they're the ones that requested the different emergency service turnarounds,
Yeah.
and they were okay with them there. They couldn't make the turn because that's where
Thank
the large, you can see the topography of it, there's a
Oh,
large
yeah.
drop off.
Yeah,
So,
thank you.
And, Mr. Stillman, that's where a draw pulls down through there. You know, essentially they're filling that area in. They have a sediment basin there in that location, which is why the road doesn't connect. That's what that green area is. That's a sediment basin for erosion control.
All right, thank you again.
All right, we have a previous motion on the floor and a second. All those in favor, sign of aye. Aye. Oppose the same sign. That is unanimous. Could someone get Mr.
Yes, I've got
Grubbs, please? Thank you.
all right, the next item is E1, case PBR 2023-03. also known as Sawmill Woods. This is a 170-lot planned residential development in RS20. It's on 89.02 acres at the eastern terminus of Ridgewood Court. See the site plan here. The petitioner is proposing, besides the 170 lots, 6 active open spaces, a greenway easement, a 30-foot perimeter buffer around the area, and 6 stormwater devices. This is a very topography challenged property. A TIA was required, but there was no improvements needed for any public streets or intersections, currently existing public streets or intersections. The site plan does meet UDO requirements, therefore staff recommends approval of this request.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval.
We have a motion by Mr. Lamb, second by Mr. Grubbs. Any discussion? All those in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, the same sign. That is unanimous.
Is it too late to ask one small detail question?
It's already passed, but you can ask a question if you would like.
On the far eastern end of this site, that open space area, the active open space area shown as being a trail?
Are you talking about the green along this?
Yeah, all the
over
way down
here.
to the far.
Yeah.
No, the open space area, gosh, I can, but that won't be
It's the
you.
west side.
West side.
I'm sorry,
Okay.
west side.
Yeah, okay.
It says that's for a trail. Just out of curiosity, I was wondering what that trail may or may not connect to.
I think it's just a walkway inside of that rec.
Okay.
I don't know if it has it's just for recreational purposes.
So it's not a part of any larger greenway system? Okay, thank you.
The next item is E2, which is PBR 2023-04. This is Salem Montessori School. This is a private school and child daycare center in the HB district. It's on 6 acres at the southeast corner of the intersection of Coliseum Drive and Pilgrim Court. You probably remember this from last month. This was on, the planning board recommended the rezoning of this HBS to general highway business. On Monday, city council approved that request. So this is now all HB. The petitioner proposes a private school and child daycare center on the southern building that you see here. The daycare is in 2 different sections of the building. The private school is the dark portion of the building. The reason for last month's rezoning request was the playground that you see here, this playground area here, because the HBL only had the use of banking and commercial parking. So that was the reason for the rezoning. The site plan meets UDA requirements, therefore staff recommends approval of this request.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval.
Motion by Mr. Lamb, second by Mr. Grubbs. Any discussion? All those in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, the same sign. That is unanimous.
Mr. Chairman, the board, we will now go back to item B5, which is UDO CC 21. And we'll hear briefly from Amy Crum.
Sorry about that. Here's our slideshow.
All right. Good afternoon. UDO CC 21 is a planning board and development services staff text amendment for sections 3 and 11 of the UDO to reflect current North Carolina general statute language regarding site distance triangles.
You may have to use the.
There we go.
There we go. All right, interesting. Sorry.
See if the arrow button works for you.
It does, but it doesn't show up up here. That's all.
Oh, I'm so, okay. Can it work from the show?
What happened?
Is it the preview that's not working?
It might be, yeah.
Sorry. No, I just want to be able to see what's going on. Okay. No? No? What is going going on? There we go. Okay, we'll just work on that. All right.
It's probably going to be that simple.
In 2021, North Carolina legislature adopted new language specifying that the measurements for sight distances at intersections, specifically sight triangles, must begin at the right-of-way or within the right-of-way or edge of pavement. Prior to this adoption of language, municipalities could basically use their own discretion on how they define sight triangles. And so there was a multitude of methodologies used. Our current UDO definition basically states that sight triangles are measured at the edge of right-of-way, and the definition is currently a city-specific definition. What we are proposing with this amendment is to amend the language, the definition, to basically meet the North Carolina statute, basically by saying that the sight triangle is measured from edge of pavement, and converting the definition to a county-wide definition, just for consistency's sake across the board. And also replacing the existing graphic, which is in the UDO, with a graphic that specifies and shows the new language. So here's the two graphics to show you. The one on the left shows the existing UDO, and I don't know if I can see. But you can see there that existing UDO has a sight triangles beginning basically at edge of right-of-way and then going back within the property. Now they would be edge of pavement and going back, and you see on the right-hand side photo. And that's basically the only real change is that distinction. Again, as summarized, state adopted new language that changed how measurements for sight triangles should be done and handled. The proposed amendment will change the current definition to meet these new language, and this amendment will have no impact on current review practices, as staff has already incorporated this into our policies and procedures. And with that, staff recommends approval.
Are there any questions? All right, what is the pleasure of the board on this?
Mr. Chairman, it is a public hearing. I don't think there's
sure
anyone
is.
here to speak for this or
Is
against
there
it.
anyone here, no one signed up in opposition? Is anyone here opposed to this? Seeing no one, I declare the public hearing closed. What is the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the planning board recommend approval of UDO CC 21.
I have a motion by Mr. Lamb, second by Mr. Grubbs. Any discussion? All those in favor, sign of aye. Aye. That is unanimous. All right, we will now jump to our staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, for staff report, I will turn to Kirk, who will give you a preview of your possible work session in February, and I'll leave it at that.
All right, thank you, Chris. Good afternoon, board members, Mr. Chairman. As Chris alluded to, we're going to get to a decision point regarding the work session, but I'll tell you the items that we have to discuss with the board so far. There's only one item of substance, but it's an item that relates to the Historic Resources Commission and some standards that they're changing regarding the categorical appointments on their board. But those are kept in the UDO, and as a result, that will need to go through this body and ultimately City Council and the county commissioners to change. But the discussion about that text amendment has kind of taken place with those respective organizations. So there's that item. The only other item that we were going to potentially bring to the board, which can be done in any time, is our annual downtown investment summary that Steve Smotherman does for you every year. So the decision point is, if you all feel that you need a work session on that text amendment for the Historic Resources Commission, we can do it. Again, it would be an abbreviated work session. Or if you all would rather have a little time off in your midwinter here, we are happy to oblige that as well.
What's the pleasure of the board on this one?
I would be happy to not have a work session.
All right, is everybody in agreement with that?
You know, I'm pretty invested in the HRC process, but there will be time to discuss it at
Oh,
this
most
meeting,
definitely.
though, right?
Absolutely.
Yes, at the
And
public
again,
hearing.
we'll-
Yes, sir.
We'll make sure you, Mr. Bryan, you and the rest of the board have access to
Yeah,
that
'cause I haven't seen
language
anything yet.
in advance, and there'll be, of course, the public hearing on that in March.
Okay.
Yeah, that works, because we're probably going to have a 5-hour public hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and the board.
Mr. Chairman and Kirk, that's a good segue. I will turn to Mark, who can give you a highlight of your cases for March, and you see it on your screen there what we have. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mark.
Yeah, we have, so Mr. Chair, I try to be quick and efficient today, but I found out that Brian's not a great basketball fan, so next month during the ACC basketball tournament, he has
First day.
scheduled 7 new rezoning cases to go with our 2 continuing zoning cases. So we have 9 total. And of course, we have the 1 text amendment that y'all were just previously discussing. So we have, like I said, 9 total rezoning cases, 1 subdivision that's being continued, and 1 text amendment.
I blame Mark. He scared everybody off today.
Can we have a TV in the back like we used to in elementary school?
You've got one in front of you.
Yeah.
Split screen.
Your iPad.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, we just don't want to make any obscene, yeah!
Well, the way Carolina's playing, I don't care one way or the other. So, I mean, I think it might be a moot point for me by then. So, Mr. Chairman, other items, just a quick update. I did want to let you know that, as we've continued to backfill positions, we have hired David's replacement and Amy's replacement, Amy Crum, resulting from her promotion and David's retirement. Kelly Bennett on staff and Tiffany White on staff, both are our new principal planners and have already begun that role. We are going to, for the positions that we have left on their team, which we have 4 or 5, we've requested a new position. We're not sure whether that's going to be funded or not, but we're not getting a lot of applicants from doing regional advertisements, so we're actually going to advertise all those positions nationally to try to get some additional applications. The only other thing I have is similar to what we did for the December meeting. Because it's our 75th anniversary celebration, we'll probably plan on having a little heavier hors d'oeuvres food before the meeting, and we'll probably do it downstairs. We might have a cake to cut for the 75th, and then we'll have cupcakes or something, but essentially that's what we're going to do for the 75th anniversary of the first meeting of the planning board. They had an organizational meeting in February of 1948, but their actual first meeting was in March. So,
Would there be an opportunity to invite previous planning board directors to the extent that we still have some around?
Mr. Stillman, I'll tell you, I am not a party planner, so I'm not opposed to that, but it's one of those things where I'm just trying to keep it as low key as possible, kind of do a little bit of celebration. But certainly, I think we could reach out to past living planning directors, of which there are only 3. So, that's right. All right. And with that, I don't have anything else.
All right, is there anything else for the good of the order?
We'll have our motion to adjourn.
4:55. Now remember this next month.
We all.
No basketball.